Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Bimmer barn. Today we're going to be working on my 335i wagon and getting it ready for sale, and actually just announcing that it is for sale officially. I just have to trace down one wiring issue, which we're going to take care of today, and then also give it like a little bit more of an alignment in the front end. But then we're going to go ahead and start publicly posting it, so if any of you subscribers want first dibs, let me know. I'm hopefully looking for around $15,000, which I think is a reasonable price for the car. And if you guys are interested, be sure to maybe leave a comment down below with your email address, or reach out to me via email through my website or Instagram or something like that. Also, if you guys heard in the news recently about this Hurricane Ian that passed through Central Florida, it actually went right over us here in Orlando, and I'll show you guys a quick tour of my home, some of the damages, what happened to the cars, specifically the ones that we parked outside, and then we'll get right into the video and working on the wagon. So let me show you guys. Now, as you can see, we did park the 335i wagon in the garage, as well as the M5 wagon, my pride and joy. But out here is sort of where you'll see some of the signs of Ian passing through. On the Fiat, we just have some debris, some twigs and branches over here. But unfortunately, the car cover on my wagon here completely shredded. I guess it was definitely buckled up underneath, but there was just so much wind that it just shredded this thing into, I think, like 3 big pieces. And then the rain came in, and I think it got into the car. It soaked up this panel here, but I don't think it actually like flooded the car inside, so that's a really good sign. The rain comes at different angles, so hopefully it wasn't coming into the window from this way. Maybe it was coming around, and it did get a little bit of moisture in there, but hopefully it'll dry out over the next few days. It's actually pretty cool here in Florida today, and the weather's cooled down a lot. The X5 was parked right here, and luckily our street didn't get any flooding. You can see that there's like a buildup of debris on the side of the road here, but one of the neighbor's streets actually got completely flooded. I'll show you guys a picture of me standing with the dogs here. It was like up to your knees almost, and I think some of the cars there may have been totaled. Bar Street is nice and dry, just a little bit dirty from branches. And then over here on the side of my house is where we had a lot of damage. So actually on Wednesday, before the storm came through, this tree blew over into the fence here and destroyed the fence. I actually went and pushed it back up so I could kind of get the fence back in line, see what was wrong. You can see on the other side there the branches, the tall tree. So I cut those by hand. I probably need to get them into smaller chunks and get them recycled. And then over here, we're gonna have to pull this tree out and chop it down at the stump basically, and put maybe some more dirt back in here. But otherwise, really happy. I think we got kind of shielded from the winds from these big trees over behind my house. And then it's a neighborhood, so the wind really passes over the homes instead of in the streets and stuff. So luckily we weren't hit that hard by the storm, but I know in other parts of Central Florida, and even more on the west coast of Florida, like Tampa and stuff, they were hit super hard. Places like Fort Myers, and a lot of people like on Reddit are saying to watch out for cars going at auction or being for sale from dealers in the next couple months, because they might be impacted by the Hurricane Ian. Totaled cars can get sold at auction at other states where they don't use branded titles, and then you might think that you're buying a clean title car, but really it was involved in a total loss incident, such as a flood, which would give you a lot of issues in the future. So I'd be careful about that for those of you in Central Florida buying cars at auction, and in the rest of the US as well, because you never know where they could be sent off to. So now moving on to the 335i wagon. For the past couple of months or weeks, I've had this fault on the dashboard here, and basically the brake light stays on and it tells me that I have a bad brake pad wear sensor. Now it also does have a bad tail lamp malfunction, but that right there, the brake pad sensor, it's been kind of bugging me, and I did actually address it by purchasing some brake pad sensors off of Amazon. Now this is the front one. It comes in a pack of 2 for $13. Really good deal, and this is like a non-moving part. This is super easy to mass manufacture or reproduce for cheap. So I got a pair of these, and I replaced the rear pad sensor, which it says is faulty, but it still gives me that fault code. So I'm thinking that there might be a wiring issue either up here or maybe some of the pins back there for the sensor. So we need to test the continuity, make sure the wiring is correct up here. I do have a couple of diagrams, so we're gonna go ahead and check the wiring out, see if we can make some changes to hopefully get that light off. So I've got the DSC harness connector right here. You'll see there's just a couple of wires. One of these that's loose is the DSC sensor ground. I went and removed the label because we resolved that issue, so that wire basically never needs to get used. The other one is the handbrake lever, and that for some reason has a different wiring than the DSC car, so it's not actually connected to my DSC module, so the light should never come on if you put the handbrake on. It can definitely be fixed, but I didn't feel like routing a wire through the car for that. And what you see, that little red crimp there, that is actually the connection of the ground points for both of the brake pad sensors. Now the one that's spliced in, that's the rear one right there. So there's a couple possibilities. I think what we should do is reconnect this DSC harness and then test that this thing is getting a ground right here. And then we can go to the rear of the car and test if we're getting a ground back there as well. And that should let us know if we've got a complete circuit. There must be something wrong along those lines though, because obviously we have a fault. So let's go ahead now and use my handy power probe to test that out. And I love using this thing, so I'll put a link to it down below, but let's try to find out what this issue is. Now using the power probe, I was able to test for continuity from the rear end all the way to the front up here. All I did was I used a little alligator clip and I grounded out the pins that I wanted to test, and then I would see if they were grounded at the back of the car. And now everything looks to be continuous. There's no breaks in the circuit. But now we're going to connect this and power on the car and see if we can get, ground signals. Worst comes to worst, there is the connection where the rear and the front brake pad sensor, they share the ground. It's actually somewhere up here in the harness. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure that if we peeled back the loom enough that we would find it. That's a, last effort to get that light to go off, but I'd rather fix it without having to destroy the loom on the harness right there. So let's go ahead and turn the car on, see if we can figure out what the problem is. Well, I've tried so many times now to get this thing to work, and I finally have got it. I don't want to say that it just needed to be reset up top because I thought I did that, but it seems like that may have been the only thing it needed, because if you don't reset the brake pad wear sensor in the instrument cluster, it will not let you clear the fault out on the scanner. So all I did was I actually left the second wire loose, so I took the crimp out completely because, looking at the diagram, it has a shared ground between the brake pad sensors. So I'm just letting it use the shared ground. I reset the light, I installed my new sensor, and it's gone. It's all taken care of for now. The only thing I do want to take care of actually before we do the alignment is going to be the brake light bulbs, because there's one in here that needs to be changed out. So I should be able to remove this, and it says on the dashboard that there's a brake lamp and also a tail lamp out. I think it's gonna be the ones right here. So let's go ahead, disassemble this, take my bike for a ride to go get some bulbs, and then we'll hopefully have no more fault codes in a second here on my dashboard. So looking closer at this bulb, it looks like there was some corrosion here when we first pulled it off, and also inside of this metal, bracket where it makes contact for the bulb here. And looking at the bulb, it appears to be fine. There's no break in the connection. So if I connect my power probe to the ground supply here, I should be able to test all these bulbs. We'll start with the reverse light, and then you've got the main, and then the third light right there. So I went and fixed it. That was definitely the one that wasn't working before, because that's the running light right here that wasn't lighting up. That's the middle bulb. So we fixed that. I'm wondering if we have other bulbs that have failed for this reason, but let's go ahead and put this back together and see if we got that message to go away. Well, since we had an adaptive brake light fault, even though it looks like all the bulbs were working, I was kind of confused. I pulled out the bracket that holds all the bulbs here, and one of these lower ones, you can see it's a little bit tinted darkly. It's got a break in the filament. That's one of these lower bulbs, I think, for adaptive brake lights. So I guess they only turn on when you're braking heavily. So this bulb is bad. We need to replace it. And then I think there is one more light for the washer fluid. I'm not sure if it's low or if it's just a bad sensor. If it's a sensor, I don't want to mess with it. But if it's low, hey, we might be able to just top it off, and then we'll have no more check control messages. But for now, let's go ahead and take a quick bike ride to Walmart and get a replacement bulb. And by the way, for those of you guys that might enjoy tinkering like me, this is a Super 73 electric bicycle. You see there's no motor in the middle here. The battery's up top, the motor's inside the wheel. And I'm actually gonna be tinkering with this thing on my second channel, my personal channel. So if you wanna see and learn more about electric bikes and building electric powered vehicles, go ahead and check out my second channel. I'll put a link to it down below if you wanna see me post videos about this and other electric bicycles and other builds in the future. But now, like I said, let's go ahead and get to Walmart. And now finally, well, hopefully, we don't have any more light bulb faults on the dash. Let's check it out. Let's go! We'll try out the brakes. And it looks like that fault's not coming back. So just a washer fluid level warning. And you know, I think let's try it out here. Oh, you know what? We might actually be low because there's nothing squirting out right now. Let me go ahead and fill that up and see if we can get that warning to go away as well. And there we go. That's the magic screen that we wanted to see. No more error messages on the dash. No more check engine light either because we tuned the car officially. So it's tuned for all the power mods that it has. And I think that we're safe to say that this build is complete. Well, actually, one last thing. I did want to get that alignment dialed in because it pulls just a little bit to the left or right. I don't recall. But I think we'll just dial that in really quick and then we'll be all done. Now, if you haven't seen toe plates before like these, they're just a really simple way of getting like a toe measurement on your car, mainly for the front because it's a little harder to adjust in the rear. But when you're doing adjustments at the track, you want to get toe in, toe out, or let's say you broke a tie rod and you need to replace it and get a quick alignment. These things come in handy for about 50 bucks, I think. You know, it comes with the toe plates as well as these measuring tapes right here. But what's great is that for such a cheap price, I've done so many alignments and they usually get me within spec. In this situation here, it looks like we're 2/16 of an inch toe in, and since the car is steering to, I believe, the left, that's going to kind of hint to me, I think that the right wheel is going to be toed in. So we're going to go ahead and take the right wheel, put it back toe out so that hopefully both wheels are exactly parallel, and then we'll take it for a quick drive and make sure that the alignment's all right. Oh, and based off this little puddle of water right here, I guess we know why our washer fluid level was low before. It looks like probably the seal to the pump, or perhaps, you know, the hose that goes into the bottom of the tank. One of those has failed and we have a slow leak right there, but at least the sensor is good. It just needs that seal to be replaced.
Eventually.
So after taking it for a nice drive with no check engine lights and no steering or alignment issues, I figured that we'd take the car back to this parking lot where we originally test drove the car for the first time after completing the swap. And it was such a huge moment in this build being able to drive it after swapping the entire drivetrain from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. And I guess we're at the end of this build now, so you can't really expect a lot more videos on the car. I'm probably going to be listing it for sale soon unless one of you guys reaches out to me before I post it publicly. That'll probably be in like the next week or so. So definitely reach out to me if you have any questions or you're interested in the car. And otherwise, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this journey and hopefully you learned something about converting your car to rear-wheel drive or what it takes to do a 335i swap into a chassis like the E91. And if you did enjoy the series, be sure to go and watch all the videos, like, comment, especially on this one as well. And be sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you guys haven't yet, because that would really help us grow our community and be able to do more cool projects like this. So as always, I hope you guys have an amazing day and we will see you next time.